Welcome back to the live coverage of YCS Prague, the first Yu-Gi-Oh! Championship Series of 2015. My name is Oliver Gurman, I'm your host for the weekend, and I'm joined here by Robert Grayson Hooley from the UK.
It's fantastic to be here today.
Yes, we are quite excited because after 10 rounds of fierce competition, we have cut a field of initially 608 players down to just 32.
Massive.
Yeah, we can just keep this up. I say a full sentence, you say one word.
Yes, yes, that's exactly how it's
All
going
right.
to work for this entire... Oh, no, I've already broken it. Oh.
That was the trick. All right, so after the end of the Swiss rounds, we got a number of household names on top of the field.
Yes, huge amount. Where is my standings? They are right.
Leading the pack is Alpay Engin from Germany, a two-time YCS winner. Playing Nekroz, and we asked him because players are like, how can Alpay always do so well at the large events? Well, there are a couple of ingredients to that secret recipe that he is following through, and number one is he's always playing the best deck. Alpay is never playing something that he doesn't think is the best deck in the field. And he said about Nekroz, he thinks it is the best deck in the format and probably the best deck he's ever played.
Yeah, it's incredibly powerful. It can search for all of the cards that you need whenever you need them.
Right. Let's take a look at the total numbers of Nekroz at the beginning of the tournament yesterday morning. There you can see we have roughly 31%, well, roughly, almost exactly 31% of the field playing Nekroz. So it is the most popular deck. However, in close pursuit was the Clifford archetype with 23%. Now, the most interesting questions when you're looking at these statistics is always like, what is changing when you compare day 1 to day 2? So let's take a look at the breakdown for day 2. You can tell that Nekroz has risen in relative numbers. It's up on 53% now.
Which is huge.
And Clifford has lost a little bit, down 20 to 20%, so it lost around 3%. That means Nekroz was the right choice for the event?
It looks that way, especially, well, we'll see in a second, but it has actually done quite well to get into well, the top 32 as well. But at the moment, it looks like Clifford is an extremely strong choice against Nekroz.
Yeah, it depends a lot on the matchup. Interestingly enough, Satellanites, who are here in third place, were 9% at the start of the day, start of yesterday, and they are up. So they are now at 13%. So you could guess that Satellanite was a very good choice for the weekend because it was going up in numbers.
Trivor, extremely good card.
Yeah. However, they are not being represented in the top 32. So, yeah, struggling a little bit in the last 3 rounds of competition. All right, let's take you to the table where we got our 2 players for the top 32 feature match. One of them is a national champion, Muci Izci from Germany. Might not sound like a German name, but he is German, in fact. And he is going up against a player from Italy, and he's Giorgio Dascall, one of 2 players left in the field playing Burning Abyss.
Now this is actually a mask change to Burning Abyss as well, so it's taking account to be able to use Dark Law.
Speaking of Burning Abyss, just really quick, so we got those numbers in with all those stats. Started at 8% at the start of day 1, down to 6% at the start of day 2, and they have, well, they were able to hold their ground, 6% still in the top 32. That translates to 2 decks.
Yeah. Now, Nekroz still dominating the field with 75% of the decks in the top 32 still being there. Clifford still representing, but at just 19. Yeah,
and one important factor that we can see in our top 32 standing, most of the veteran players, most of the guys that have done well at the larger events before, they went with Nekroz, just like Alpay Engin.
Yeah. Alpay Engin, Jake Quincy.
Peter Meyer, runner-up of the same German national championship where Muci Izci was actually winning. And then
Patrick Reeder.
Winner
of YCS London in 2013.
Yes, exactly. And Marcello Barberi from Italy also running with Nekroz, or Piran Aski from Germany. Oh, he's actually running Clifford.
Yes.
Ah, yes. Okay, so let's take a look at the game. If you're not familiar with the whole layout, we got those 2 players on the table. And on the right-hand side, you can see the cards on the table, or in this case, in the hand. So we can always provide you with live information of what these guys are holding on to and talk a little bit about their options.
Now, here is a classic play. Now, a Rubik and a Seer has come down, bringing out a Dante. It's going to allow a possible Rubik to be put straight into the graveyard. Then taking the top 3. That's another Rubik. Unfortunately, that's a bad miss for Burning Abyss.
Yeah, what do you want to hit? A Scarm, really?
Well, you can hit Scarm and a Graph.
So you can special something.
I believe he actually also normal summoned the Seer.
Yes.
So if he would have got a Seer in there, he would have been able to special summon the Rubik. If he hit the Graph as well, special summon something else. And then essentially he would open with one of the optimal plays for the deck, which is a Dante and a Virgil.
All right. So the back row of the Burning Abyss archetype, very often many cards there. You can see 2 Mystical Space Typhoon and a Fire Lake of the Burning Abyss. That is, at this point in time, he cannot use it. All right. Muci Izci from Germany, starting with a preparation of rites. We've seen that a couple of times, but if you want to avoid that move, you want to save that preparation when it can net you both a ritual spell from your graveyard as well as a ritual monster from your deck. There's the Bryonic.
Bryonic doing its thing. Interestingly, the big blue elephant is also in big blue sleeves. Maybe some sort of camouflage technique.
Right, so how do you get over Dante with this daunting 2,500 def?
Well, let's see what he's got in his hand there and see what options he has.
Okay.
Trishula.
Trishula is as good.
Trishula is a good way to just get straight over that.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't have to worry about Fire Lake. It's just not going to worry him at all.
Also, with Giorgio not having any cards in hand, Muci is also 100% safe from cards like Raigeki Break or Phoenix Wing Windblast. At the same time, he's not in trouble if a Trishula would hit play because he doesn't have any cards in his hand. So dropping your whole hand is a viable strategy against the Nekroz archetype because Trishula cannot punish you.
Which is interesting because me and you were having a conversation just before one of the deck profiles about dumping your entire hand on the field and how it's not good to have no hand. In this meta, having no hand is a completely acceptable thing.
Yeah, but truth be told, we haven't seen that, I think, once this weekend.
Oh,
that at least not in the first turn. Like sometimes players go with 5 back rows, but they rarely have like a monster on the field, so very good target for Trishula, and then nothing in hand.
Yeah, now he's put Valkyrus out on the field. Big attack, can just run straight over it. Now that means that he would get a Seer effect and Dante's effect. So of course his targets in the graveyard currently would be Rubik, which has quite a large defense as well.
There's a Dance Princess of the Nekroz. Together with... That's another Bryonic. And those got tributed for the effect of Nekroz of Valkyrus. So even if you draw into something that you don't need, if you can manage to summon Valkyrus to the field, you can just recycle those cards.
Yeah, now he's just checking there to make sure that that's definitely tribute from the hand as well. Now, looking at it, what has he drawn into? A Shared Ride and a Manju of 10,000 hands?
Yes. And interestingly enough, Shared Ride, typical side deck card, but here we see it in the main deck.
That's because of the big field of Nekroz that just search from your deck constantly.
Yeah, cards like this, if you play them in the main deck, they tend to get better throughout over the course of the tournament, really. Something that Jay Quincy pointed out in the interview that we conducted yesterday evening. He built his deck specifically to be better at the later stages of a tournament. So once he's getting there, he's going to be in a advantageous position.
Okay. What we just saw there was Valkyrus was attacking, and he was just wondering, you know, do I actually use the Shared Ride right now? So he just asked for a little bit of a replay. It's like, oh, I am going to activate something to that. Now Dante has come back out due to Seer's effect.
But without Exceed material, not as daunting.
But he has actually made it so that there is nothing to add to hand as well. So Shared Ride is not going to get its effect.
Right, so Muci still got a couple of cards in his hand.
Ouch. And in the end phase, Mystical Space Typhoon takes out the Book of Eclipse.
Yeah, one of the very few defensive cards that the Nekroz archetype is running.
Now, one of the reasons why it runs it as well is the fact that it forces your opponent to draw cards and put cards into the hand. And that just gives you more targets for Trishula.
So Giorgio has a Scarm, Malebranche of the Burning Abyss in hand.
He's just asking a few questions.
About Valkyrus, apparently. Yeah, all of these Nekroz cards have so many lines of text because they are so flexible. You can either discard them for one effect, or once they hit play, you can also use another effect.
Of course, you always get some issues that are lost in translation if your opponent's using a language that you're not familiar with.
Okay, so the Scarm being summoned to the field, telegraphing a Fire Lake of the Burning Abyss.
Yeah.
And with that, Giorgio passing play to Muci, who drew into a Senju of the 1,000 Hands, which he immediately summoned.
It really needs to decide, is he going to activate it now or later? Senju of the 1,000 Hands allows you to get a ritual spell card. No, it's a ritual monster.
Ritual monster, yeah.
Yes, that's correct.
Which is why it's so strong, especially in Nekroz, because you have monsters like Brionac or like Clausulas that allow you to then search your deck for a ritual spell card. So you actually have a Manju.
Yeah.
Just a different sort of Manju.
Of course, does help. I mean, you can only use Brionac and Clausulas once per turn. You can only use all of the effects once per turn.
Yes. All right, so the back row of Giorgio, Mystical Space Typhoon and the Fire Lake, and now he's got 3 targets for his Fire Lake, so that's, in a way, that's good news. At the same time, that's bad news because it means that Muci has 3 monsters. But there they go. Fire Lake taking out all 3 of them. Oh,
And his own card.
2 of them and his own card?
Interesting. Is Fire Lake destroy 3 cards on the field? Could you just bring that up?
Yeah.
Just 3 cards on the field. Yeah. Okay, he can destroy his own card.
Why would you be interested in destroying your own card?
I think he's trying to get... he's about to add a card to hand with Dante.
And he wants to make sure that he's not going to fall victim to a Trishula.
Yeah.
So actually excellent play from Giorgio, who knows exactly how those 3 zones are working, and either keeping a card, well, no cards on the field or no cards in hand, one of the 2.
Now he's really thinking about this, and he gets Seer back to hand.
And he also gets to search during the end phase for that Scarm.
Yep, he's going to be getting a tour guide.
Most likely.
Of the underworld.
But so, he doesn't really have anything... I mean, he can put another Dante on the field. What else?
Now, sorry, so...
That's Brionac, yep.
Has Brionac already activated his effect stem?
I think that's a new turn. If the Senju... What was the Senju searching for?
The Senju searched for a Brionac, which was dropped, I believe.
Oh, so he just waited for main phase 2 to...
yeah, he must have kept it.
Yeah, I think he didn't follow it up. Okay, so...
That's fine, yeah.
Yeah, we're in main phase 2. He now dropped the Brionac that got him a Clausulas. And the Clausulas got also ditched to search him the Nekroz Kaleidoscope. One of the 3 Nekroz ritual spells.
Extremely powerful. Especially because it can special summon more than 1. And with big levels in your extra deck, like shooting Quasar Dragon, which is at 12. Now he's going for the Herald of Arclight to bring out the Unicorn. Unicorn has a very nice disruption against Burning Abyss because it negates the Dante and it negates the Virgil.
So who is in your head in this game at this point in time?
Currently, well, looking at what Giorgio has, he will be able to bring something out from the extra deck, but it does not help him anymore. He would need to bring out something he needs to just bring something out that's got at least 2,500 attack to start getting its effect, but, well, over 2,300. So I would say that the Nekroz player is definitely slightly ahead here.
But it could all change once Giorgio draws for his turn and he finds the right card. What would be the right card here?
In his deck, looking at his deck list, let's see. A Dark Law would quite help here, depending on the ruling on its negation after destroying a Unicorn. Although, sorry, yeah, that's when it tries to add to the hand. Oh, now that is a...
Abyss Dweller. Just the name might be a little bit weird because it's Abyss Bewohner.
Yes.
It's a German Abyss Dweller, but yes, it is an Abyss Dweller. So, really, really good against the Burning Abyss.
Interesting. I believe he's asking whether he can activate its effect with a Unicorn underneath it, which of course you can.
Yeah, it doesn't. It's not supposed to be a monster, and that means it doesn't. All of its effects are not applied, basically.
Now it's basically stopping. That's 2 Seer. It's gonna have special summon 1 and normal summon 1. It's stopping the Scarm in the end phase.
Can it still stop it?
I believe that's what the question they were asking was.
Yeah. The question is, has the effect already been activated before, and you cannot negate it with Abyss Dweller, or?
Yeah, it's interesting.
All right. So Giorgio drew for his turn, immediately went for another Dante, so he can attack with Dante over Abyss Dweller.
Okay, he's actually dropping the last material off there, which is completely useless because Seer cannot activate its effect this turn. He special summoned it. Okay, and neither can Farfa. I see what he was doing.
So now Giorgio ahead on the field with just a Dante, whereas Muci doesn't have a field anymore. However, he's got 2 cards in hand, and that's the Nekroz of Trishula, Nekroz of Unicorn. And don't be fooled, that doesn't mean that he's out of options, because he's got those ritual spell cards in his graveyard that he can banish together with another Nekroz card to search another copy from his deck.
Yeah, now that Down of Magician, actually a very, very good play. What it actually does by putting that on there, not only makes it quite a little bit of a bigger monster in attack position, it makes sure that if it's returned to your hand or to the extra deck in the case of Down Magician, you are still going to get your Dante effect.
Yes.
Because of course anything underneath it is going to get sent to the graveyard.
All right, and there we have it. Muci, Izci searching for the ritual spell from his deck, just like we predicted, or just like we explained a second ago. Now he's got a Kaleidoscope, and with a Trishula, Unicorn, and Gungnir in hand, he's got quite a few choices here. It's probably going to be the Unicorn with the Herald of the Arclight, and then that would allow him to add another ritual spell to his hand to make sure that even for the following turns he has quite a few actions.
That's right. I mean, he doesn't currently have any cards in hand, so yeah, you wouldn't want to Trishula.
Yeah, really good spot that Muci is in here.
Though, looking at the combined levels, he could actually set up a lot more. Okay, it's going to be a 7. He can at least a level 11.
Does he have a level 11? And I think they also need to be exactly the number.
Yeah, that's what I'm just checking now. Because Gungnir is level 7.
So here it is, the Kaleidoscope. You need to exactly equal the level of the monster that you sent to the graveyard. And there are only so many targets in your extra deck, of course.
Yeah.
The Star Eater was level 11, I think.
Yes, it is. So he would be able to bring out the Gungnir and the Unicorn.
Okay, so he's got a... There is the Kaleidoscope. Let's see what he sends to the graveyard. It's either going to be the Star Eater, the Herald of the Arclight. Well, I think that's it, to be honest.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, so he does have Shooting Quasar Dragon.
No, okay.
just going for the 1.
Yeah, there we go. Herald of the Arclight triggering its effect that allows him to search his deck for a ritual spell and add it to his hand.
Now that's going to negate the effect of down position, which is actually giving it plus 400 attack there.
Yeah, Nekroz of Unicorn, many think that you only play it because it's a level 4 ritual monster, but no, it also has a couple of good effects.
Yep, you can discard it to return a Nekroz card from your graveyard to your hand.
Which is often going to be a Brainek.
Yep, and you can also, when it comes out, negate the effect of all face-up monsters that are summoned from the extra deck. And that is a permanent effect.
Yes, and that is the case, as you pointed out, for Downed Magician. So Downed Magician is falling to 2100 attack?
Yep, that's correct. So he can now just run it over.
But he's not quite done yet.
So Nekroz
Mirror
is going to
banish a Shurit from the graveyard.
And there's the Gungnir.
There's a Gungnir.
Which then allows him to go and get a warrior type from his deck as well.
Yeah, so the chain of searches doesn't stop. Very, very good play from Muci, Izci, who just goes through his deck, continues to add more cards to his hand. And even though he's committing to the field, he's not giving up any of the number of cards in his hand.
Yep. No, he may have actually been able to bring out the Trishula at this point, but he doesn't. Which would have possibly won him the game as well. Although I believe he may have actually got the. Yeah, he doesn't actually have a ritual card. My mistake.
Yeah, sometimes it's very easy to mix that up because there are so many ways to add it to your hand. So you just assume that the Nekroz player always has what he needs.
Okay, so Sears effect. We'll bring Scarm out.
Yeah, so Giorgio not taking much damage. Well, 3,700 life points remaining. Okay, he did take some damage.
Okay, so that's going to destroy the Scarm, ensuring that he's going to get the tour guide at the end of the turn. And there's the turn end.
Okay, and now Giorgio desperately needs something.
Well, he does now have a very pretty ultimate rare tour guide from the Underworld.
Yeah, but I think he would not mind drawing into a Raigeki.
Oh, Raigeki would definitely help him right now. Especially now that he has the Gungnir on the field. And he actually has a Mind Crush and a tour guide.
Yeah, Mind Crush.
And he does a few other cards.
Yeah, Seer and the tour guide. Okay, so he summons the tour guide, which allows him to special summon another Malebranch of the, Fiend type.
Yeah.
Level 3
but
from his deck.
at the moment, it's usually a Malebranch of the Burning Abyss. It's
the
way it sees play.
There were times when it was a Dark World monster, and then there were times when it was another tour guide. But yes, those times are over. There was even a time when there was Sungun. So there's the Scarm, the Gruff from the deck, and that allows him to perform even more special summons once it hits the graveyard, which is going to be soon.
Okay, so... Ooh, oh dear.
Wow.
That's a bad miss.
Yeah, he definitely would not have minded drawing into that Snatch Steal there. Now he brings out Scarm, it appears.
Yes, via Sears effect. Oh, sorry, from Graph. He has a Sear in hand.
Yeah, he's got the Sear in hand and the Mind Crush. And the Mind Crush at this point in time not that useful. Although there's going to be another search very soon for the Nekroz player.
Okay, interesting. Oh, he does have that. He may go Acid Golem, because Acid Golem's effect is negated currently. Yep, there it is. Meaning it's a 3,000 attack beat stick that isn't going to deal damage to himself.
Yeah, but Gungnir is still there. And Gungnir also has another effect. When it's on the field, you can discard a card to return a card to the hand or destroy it?
Destroy.
Destroy it. So he can get rid of Acid Golem.
Is that in either player's turn?
Yeah.
Yes, it is. There we go.
It is.
But he's now had to get rid of his Valkyrus to deal with that. And he now has no cards in hand.
Muci? Muci still has a Nekroz of Trishula.
No, I'm talking about Giorgio here.
Yeah, he's...
Giorgio now has no cards in hand.
After setting the Mind Crush,
Yeah,
yes.
so he's forced the Valkyrus to be discarded. So Muci's thinking, okay, well, I'll discard my Valkyrus because he has a card in his hand, and then I'll be able to bring out my Trishula. Unfortunately, then he set the card that was in his hand. I believe he's just telling him that it's set.
Yeah.
There, yeah.
So Giorgio playing around that Trishula like a boss, but still the rest of the Nekroz deck is taking shots at him, and they are picking him apart like
bit by
piece
bit,
for
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's he's bought it in at the end phase. I believe that was a Seer that's gone to his hand due to Skarm. Unfortunately, that may be his downfall there. Although he's going to be able to get rid of whatever is being searched here, he has no way of actually really summoning that Trishula if this doesn't go off.
Right, so seemingly the Nekroz deck far, far ahead here. And 2 more cards in hand for Muci Izci, the former national champion of Germany.
Interesting. He discarded the cycle to destroy the Dante. Dante is bringing back Seer's hand.
If you have registered for Attack of the Giant Card 5, please come to the public event stage. Attack of the Giant Card 5.
I'm just going to name something there. Okay.
So the Mind Crush can...
I think he's just explaining a few things.
Yeah.
Okay, so he Mind Crushed. Oh, he named something that definitely wasn't in his opponent's hand. Doesn't Mind Crush require you to then discard a card from your hand?
You can only activate it if you have 1 more card in hand. And I think that's how he discarded the
Seer there, just
Seer.
to get the Skarm out.
Yes. So he can
Skarm goes to the graveyard.
protect himself from yet another attack and make sure that he's going to see another turn. Interesting play and interesting use of Mind Crush. It's not the usual way to use it.
Okay, so he's taken massive damage now.
Yeah, and he's completely out of cards now. He needs to draw something that can buy him another turn, and even then, it should be something that also provides him with a field presence, and I can't think of a card. I mean, Snatch Steal would have been a good out in that situation, but he sent it to the graveyard with that Dante effect earlier. So what else is there? Like, even a Raigek, he doesn't really help him, does it?
Not well. He will get rid of the cards that are in front of him, but it's then going to clear the field to be able to say, hey, I'm just going to go and get a ritual card now. Okay. And there's a Rhapsody in Berserk. And seeing a little bit of play. Just banishing some cards. I'm banishing the Skarm so I can't activate in the end phase. And then just getting rid
Yeah, just doing that twice.
of another card. It's very possible he will equip it to the Gungnir. And yes, Snatch Steal wouldn't have helped regardless because there's a Trishula right in hand now. And Trishula, when a card to yours is targeted, you can discard it to negate that card.
Right.
That's its secondary effect that not many people
Yeah.
really consider when thinking about Trishula.
Okay, so Giorgio with 2 cards in hand. It's a Seer. And 1 more card, a Fire Lake of the Burning Abyss, which is not much use with just 1 monster.
Currently, he is not in a massively good position. So he's set the Seer.
Yeah, and he passes play.
I believe this is the first time we've actually really seen a lot of extra deck used.
Yep. It's also interesting that Gungnir's effect wasn't activated before.
He's attacking. Something's going to be special summoned. There we go. And Gungnir's effect can be activated now.
Yeah.
But he's not going to. He's going to set.
Yeah, he's biding his time because he knows that he's ahead with still the Trishula and the Space Typhoon in hand. Or, well, the Space Typhoon is now on the field.
He's...
Yeah, Giorgio doesn't want to bother anymore at this point, knowing that there's so much more pressure coming from the Nekroz archetype and him being so far out of the game. So he accesses his side deck to shuffle up for the second game and a possible third game.
Okay, so let's see what it is that he's got here. He has got
A
Anti-Magic
spell-
Essence
Yes, and a spell
and
canceller.
Anti-Spell Fragrance. That's the one, sorry. If I get any names wrong, very sorry. The deck list is in Italian. He's got 3 effect failures, which may
There's an
help.
artifact, Lancea.
Yep.
The Turbino should be a Twister.
Yeah. Which doesn't really help him in this situation.
Yes.
Now, looking at Muci's, we have Treacherous Trap Hole.
And he's got a...
Yes, Treacherous Trap Hole. Sorry, Treacherous Trap Hole is something that I like to splash into decks. I actually splash it into the Melodious deck a lot because so a lot of it is all continuous. When you don't have a trap card in your graveyard, destroy 2 monsters on the field.
Yeah.
And you can activate it at any point as well. It's not like all the other trap holes where you have to wait for something to be summoned. It's
Yes.
a really good card. And it's actually a really good card in this situation as well. It's like having your own Fire Lake
Yeah.
in any deck that doesn't run traps.
It's interesting that he's not running it in the main deck, though. Maybe he feels that it's often just going to fall victim to a Mystical Space Typhoon, because the Nekroz deck doesn't really give your opponent any targets for back row cards.
Yeah.
So as soon as you set it, there's a very good chance that it's immediately going to get destroyed by an MST.
Denko Sekka's probably definitely going to see play, and Kaiku the Ghost Destroyer.
Yes. Also, Giorgio was having 3 copies of Vento Fatato, which is Fairy Wind.
At this point, I don't think that's something he'll be playing.
So here we can see on the lower half, or at least on our screen, we could see Giorgio going through his deck. And I think he put the 2 copies of Book of Eclipse to the top. Is that something you want to side out?
One of the reasons why you really have it in is to stop a Djinn lock. And he doesn't really have to worry about a Djinn lock at all. Now, if he flips all of the Burning Abyss monsters face down, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, because they still stay on the field.
Yeah. Now, it's going to make him draw cards, which is going to eventually give him the Trishula, but you do not want him to draw more cards. That's the issue. You really don't want to give the Burning Abyss player the advantage to be able to special summon a lot of monsters in one turn. And one of the reasons why I was saying it doesn't really matter to the Burning Abyss player if all of the monsters flip face down. If you have a face down monster and try to summon a Burning Abyss monster, the other monster is classed not as a Burning Abyss monster, and the Burning Abyss monster will be destroyed.
Yeah. Face down monsters typically don't really have a name or an archetype or something like that.
Yeah, they don't have any stats whatsoever. So 3 Dante, 2 Virgil.
So both players done with the side decking and now getting ready for the second game with Muci, Izci leading 1-0.
Now, interestingly, Giorgio running Mech-Equipped Engineer as well.
Also, we got one more player from the US in the tournament. Carl Manigat. Together with Paul Cooper, they made the trip. I don't know if they made the trip together. However, both of them showed up here. He's playing, I think, Nekroz. For some of you guys have been asking about that. Yes, he is playing Nekroz as well. Chances were he's playing Nekroz. All right, so game 2. Giorgio Dascall kicking things off with 2 copies of Graph, which got him a Dante.
And then dropped all of his anti-spell fragrances directly into the graveyard.
Wow, talk about shuffling.
He does have one more left in his deck. And let's see what he has set there. He's set an enemy controller and a Fire Lake of the Burning Abyss.
What do you think about the enemy controller here?
Enemy controller is a fantastic card in Burning Abyss, due to the fact that it's going to tribute one of your monsters, put it straight into the graveyard. You're going to get the graveyard effect, and then steal one of your opponent's monsters for the turn. It also did very well in Shadow, which, you know, increased the popularity of the card quite a bit. Now, Kaleidoscope is dropping the Herald into the graveyard for a Unicorn. Unicorn is then going to be able to bring that ritual spell straight to hand.
Yes.
It's kind of a shame to have drawn into both of the graphs and that be everything.
Yeah.
Because, if that graph was able to hit off and maybe see a seer.
There's an Effect Veiler waiting in Giorgio's hand. When is he going to drop the Effect Veiler here? Well, not yet.
Yeah, there's no point dropping it right now.
But eventually, if something like a Trishula would hit play, Effect Veiler would be an option, I guess.
Claw Solus.
So more searching.
Now he actually went for the monster rather than he went for the he went and got the monster, the Claw Solus, I believe.
Clausulus searches for a ritual spell.
Yes, I was talking about the Herald.
Okay.
Right there.
Yes, the Herald we were wondering earlier. It's such a flexible card as well. Now the Manchu of the 10,000 hands just hit play, and that means one more search for Muci Izci.
Nekroz, as you can see, just such a flexible deck. Now that's gone and got a Bryonic. Bryonic can then be discarded and let him search whatever he likes from his deck. Essentially, most of your deck is going to end up in the graveyard.
Yes.
It's almost like Infernoid, except, you know, putting them straight into the graveyard is actually helping you search your deck and then put all of the other cards into your hand.
Right, and now he's got a Nekroz of Trishula in his hand, together with a mirror.
Now, there's where the Effect Veiler is going to come into play.
Yeah, but unfortunately, Giorgio couldn't deny his opponent going for the Trishula in the first place. So even though he can negate the effect, it's not really going great for him now, is it?
No, basically what he's got there is, oh no, it's not going to get banished, but it's still bigger than the Dante. The Dante is then going to get its effect, and Graph will also be able to happen there. So there'll be a card to hand and a card to
There
field.
is Trishula, yes. And now we're going to see the Effect Veiler. So he only loses a card from his hand, and it doesn't get banished, of course, because it was discarded for its own effect. He still gets to keep his field and his graveyard. But again, Giorgio running very, very low on cards in hand. He's got none. And cards on the field. There he has 3.
Now, one of those is a Fire Lake that can't be activated. And the other one's the enemy controller, so he really needs to think. I'm going to be attacked right now. And there it is. He tributes. And he's going to take... His opponent is like, just take the Trishula. you know that you should probably take the Trishula. It's got the more attack. But he's taking the Unicorn instead, so he's gonna his opponent will have to destroy the Unicorn otherwise.
That's an interesting choice.
It's when you think about it, it's a very, very good choice. If he takes the Unicorn, to be able to damage his opponent's life points, he's going to have to destroy his own Unicorn.
Yes. So Giorgio not minding taking some damage when in turn he can at least get rid of a monster that Muci is holding on to. Do you like the play?
Yeah. It's a very good way of kind of getting around it. It means that he was either not going to take damage, and his opponent's going to kind of gain stuff, and it's just a nice way. Now, the Scum's directly going straight into the graveyard as well, which means that he doesn't have any other options to attack as well. Very interesting.
Yes.
He's either going to... either way, he's gaining an advantage, whether it's in life points or he's going to lose a
But
card.
as we learned before today, life points really don't matter that much unless you got 0, of course. So I don't think he minds losing a little bit of life here, if that means he can improve his position, and he desperately needs to improve his position. So a pass from Muci Izci without attacking, so he gets back the Nekroz of Unicorn, and play is back to Giorgio Dascall, who's got a graph in hand and a Fire Lake of the Burning Abyss on the field. So he searched for the tour guide, for the Skyrim effect at the end of Muci's turn. And now it's his turn, and he drew into a Mask Change 2.
Now that is actually kind of use. It sends anything that's got a level to the graveyard and special summon a card that has a higher level but is of the same attribute from your fusion, from your extra deck. I nearly said fusion deck because that's back when Elemental Hero was at its prime, when it was called a fusion deck.
Yeah.
And there's an overlay into a Dante that doesn't have an effect. He's thinking about it. Yeah, there's the Dante.
Yeah, he can still discard it, trigger the effect, and he's using the effect of Dante, and that should not be possible thanks to the Unicorn. Is that correct?
That is correct. Oh, is that? No, he's got rid of the Unicorn. Valkyrus is... No, that is Unicorn, isn't it?
There's a Unicorn in the middle of the field.
Huh. Interesting. It just looks like the judge didn't quite catch that there.
All right, so, I mean, he can, of course...
He can still discard the card.
I think he can activate the
yes,
effect.
he can still activate the effect and pay the cost.
Yes, so he doesn't get any of the... well, of course he gets the effect because those are trigger effects in the graveyard, but Dante doesn't get any
Doesn't
attack.
get to...
Yeah, so, yeah, he can still activate it, of course. He can still pay the cost, send
of
cards to the graveyard.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had that earlier where a minor mistake wasn't cached, so we're a little bit suspicious at this point and try to double check everything.
Yeah. In fact, we'll just bring Dante up right now.
Let's bring Dante up, yeah. And yeah, it's part of the cost, which you can see if you're familiar with the problem-solving card text, because this part of the effect is prior to the semicolon. Those are the costs, or everything that happens on activation of an effect, and everything following the semicolon in the effect text is part of the resolution.
Now, here comes out a graph from Sears Effect. It's just going to attack into the Manju to then get the effect of graph. It's a special summon from the deck.
So even with just few cards, the Burning Abyss deck can put up a fight and try to put the Nekroz player under a lot of pressure. And we got a change in life points. With, or at least it seems like a small disagreement with life points, with both players figuring out what the exact LPs are.
We've just been handed the country breakdown for the top 32. Hopefully we'll be able to get a nice little graphic ready for you. Show you over the next
so we
round.
can later compare that to the initial breakdown, where we learned that Germany was the most represented country at this event, to no one's surprise in particular.
Yeah. Big following for Yu-Gi-Oh! In Germany. And down comes a Fire Hand.
That's a card from the side deck.
Now, as we were saying earlier, not a great card against Clifford, which is what we were showing it against before, but actually quite a good card against Burning Abyss. Lots of disruption. Now, he's dropping the Fire Hand into the graveyard by Abyss Dweller. Of course, not getting its effect. So it was not destroyed, but I'm going to be negating all of the graveyard effects there, which means that he can... Oh, I believe that... Just checking.
What is checking?
I'm not quite sure. They appear to be counting turns. So I'm not quite sure whether time's been called. We'll have a look at that in a moment.
Is the die on the left-hand side indicating that it's the second time in timeout? Because this time we didn't get a signal from our volunteers.
Yep, there we go.
It is time, yeah. So, quick question just told us that yes, we are in fact in the extra time procedure.
Oh, hello. And there we discard a card. We send the Seer to the graveyard. Doesn't get its effect because of the Abyss Dweller, but a Dark Claw now hits the field. Dark Claw.
Here comes the law.
He is the law.
All right. With 2,400 attack, putting something in the way of the Nekroz deck. However, Nekroz of Trishula more than capable than tearing it apart.
Yes, it is unfortunately not the hero that he needs, or the one that he deserves right now.
Right, and it really interferes with all those search effects, punishing the opponent and banishing cards from his hand.
Which is interesting, but it's not going to last very long.
No.
It's more of a stall tactic at this point. Just go, hey, I'm not taking that much damage. We'll just take a little bit less damage.
Right. So an attack over the masked hero, leaving Giorgio Dascall with 7,600 life points, so he's behind in life points. And since we're in the extra time, this is where, well, it's one of the many situations in which the Nekroz deck really shines thanks to that card.
Yes, Valkyrus stopping attacks since the Secret Forces came out.
Yes, and we have seen a game earlier where both players in the timeout procedure dropped Valkyros one after another to make sure that they would never take any more damage. There would have been a couple of ways to work around that. One would have been the Gungnir play.
Yep.
And the other would have been... I'm trying to think of it right now.
We were saying that it would probably be to be able to drop Gaga Cowboy. I don't believe that there was actually a Unicorn on the field at that point as well.
Yes, I'm no longer sure, but I had another chat with Yannick Sigmund, who won that match that we featured in our first round today, which was round 8 of the Swiss competition. And he told me, yes, his opponent did indeed have a couple of options. Well, one couple of options, two.
And to be honest with you, we were looking at the Twitch chat just to see conversation, because there's a slight delay.
Yes.
We just saw everybody going, oh, wow, there were so many options that he had that he just didn't do. Now, the die on the right of your screen is the one that's just been put down. So that indicates that it's turn 1 of 5.
All right. And Giorgio is playing defense here, thinking about how to stem the bleeding. And he decides that Dante is the way to go.
Okay, he's attacking directly in, but of course...
Valkyrus.
Yes. Stopping Dante getting his effect. And now he has a 1,000 attack Dante in attack position with only really the option of a downed magician.
Yeah, and he goes for that.
Okay, so that's a 2,300 attack downed magician and a Mind Crush set. Trishula, again, still being much, much bigger. I think he feels like it's almost a bluff.
Yeah,
Preparation of rights.
Also the problem is
that
the Mind Crusher is a dead card because he has no more cards in hand. And he needs to have at least one card in hand to activate the card. So Giorgio Dascall really out of options here, and Muci Izci with a Trishula and the Abyss Dweller on the field. And whatever he would draw next, he's got a Gungnir in hand. So Giorgio Dascall saw the writing on the wall, knows that he's going to take a bit more damage. And that concludes our top 32 feature match, which means we only got one more Burning Abyss deck in the field.
Yes, I believe